Good morning, Year 2, and welcome to Wednesday's session for writing. Let's get straight into our narrative map. Now, what plot point are we on today? Wow, we have now gone up to a +8 on the happy scale because it's really getting good for Erin now. Can you remember that Black Rock woke up and he was kind? In fact, he is a home to some wonderful sea creatures. And today we're going to really get into our description again of the sea creatures around Black Rock. So, to write our effective sentences today, each chunk we are really looking at different ways in which we can describe things. So in our first chunk of writing, we're going to be looking at synonyms of colour. So instead of just describing something as orange, we're going to be looking at how we can use a colour thesaurus to find some more interesting ways to describe the orange colour of the creature. In our second chunk of writing, we are going to find out a little bit about collective nouns. And in our last chunk of writing, we are going to use a complex sentence and we're going to use the conjunction because. Now, before we start the second chunk, I do need to explain that because I've downloaded the clip from YouTube, it won't let me play it whilst I am recording for some reason, although we have all tried various ways. So boys and girls, in order to see the clip on for this chunk of writing, which you can see on the screen now, you will have to go into the attached PowerPoint or look at the link I've attached in a separate Word document. The attached PowerPoint, which is this PowerPoint but without the video, you should be able to watch the clips on both slides. I am apologising that it doesn't work on both, but let's get on with our sentences for describing the fish using synonyms for colour. So, Erin has noticed. What has she noticed? Jellyfish, clownfish, crab, lobster, coral and seaweed. I've put these nouns onto our idea sheet because these are the ones we're going to use to describe using different colours. Now, if I look at some of these pictures that we can see, they are such vibrant colours. We could say that a clownfish is just simply orange. We could say that the coral in the sea is simply pink. We could describe seaweed as green. And that's fine, isn't it? Because we're using an adjective and we're saying what colour it is. But we could also up-level our writing. We could use synonyms for these colours. Now, here is another link, lots of links today, and this gives us a link to a colour thesaurus that does actually exist online. So if you go into this link online, you will see lots and lots and lots of different colours and lots of ways of describing those colours. Let's look at the clownfish. Now, if I look at my sheet here in front of us, I can see that I could say he is tangerine orange. Can you see? Tangerine orange. Or maybe I could describe him as tiger orange or fire orange. It makes it a bit more interesting and gives us a bit more detail. Look at the coral. It's beautiful pink. Now we could say it's beautiful pink, or we could say the coral is a fuchsia pink, or the coral is flamingo pink, or maybe bubblegum pink. We could do the same with the seaweed. Which ones could I choose for the seaweed? I could say that the seaweed is a lime green. Let's do this one. So the seaweed is lime green or pear green, or the seaweed is an emerald. That's a nice one, an emerald green. Have a look at the different ways of describing the colours. Think about what you want to put into your sentences. Let's see how I've put it together. So I've chosen different ones for the clownfish, for example, carrot orange or tiger orange. For the coral, I've got flamingo pink or salmon pink. And for the seaweed, I've chosen lime green or emerald green. Now I'm going to put them into a sentence. So Erin noticed. Erin noticed flamingo pink coral, comma. She noticed a tiger orange crab. A fire orange clownfish. And emerald green seaweed. I've actually chosen 4 because I got a bit carried away, but you could do anything up to 4. It's up to you. How are you going to describe maybe the crab? Maybe he could be a rust orange crab. Choose which ones that you want to use and put them in your sentences. And again, I'm going to have problems with the Finding Nemo clip. It's a bit of a fun clip that I wanted to put in because I wanted you to see how many different bright colourful fish there are in the ocean. Now, if we look at the pictures, and if you can find the clip and look at it, we're going to this time not describe what something looks like, but we're going to describe how things gather in a group. Now, you might know that we call this a collective noun, and sometimes we might say a swarm of something. Usually it'd be a swarm of bees, or maybe a flock. It would usually be a flock of sheep. But we're going to use these collective nouns to describe some of the fish that we see in the sea. So what do we notice? It would be nice to watch this clip now. As it's not working, please do try and watch it. It is a fun clip through the other PowerPoint that I've attached. We have noticed when we look at our pictures, we've noticed turtles, dolphins, angelfish. I can see jellyfish. And when I look at them, I think that they are shimmering, dazzling, sparkling, or twinkling, because both of these pictures and the clip, it's very bright, it's very vibrant, and it's very shiny. So let's think of a collective noun for describing maybe a group of fish. So we could say a shimmering troop of fish swimming along. Shoal of fish, which is one of the correct proper nouns, collective nouns, to describe fish. It could be a shoal of fish darting by. A school of angelfish. A dazzling flock of jellyfish. A swarm, maybe a shimmering swarm of lionfish, or a crowd, maybe a dazzling crowd of dolphins. I've given you the sentence, she took a moment to appreciate. You can choose whether or not you want to use that sentence opener. But now let's look at what we're focusing on, which is our collective noun. So she took a moment to appreciate a dazzling school of fish. You can choose whichever you want, but what I really want you to do is look to see how many ways we can use a collective noun to describe a group of something. A troop, a shoal, not a shawl, a school, a flock, a swarm, or a crowd. Okay, we've got another clip, which sadly I can't show you, but yet again you'll find the link to the clip in the PowerPoint that hopefully has linked into the assignments. So with this one, again, we are looking at how Erin is suddenly noticing how this is such a wonderful place. Remember, at the beginning she thought it was dark and dangerous and murky, and now we are going to say how she couldn't believe her eyes. She could not believe her eyes. We could change could not to something else. Do we know, can you remember how to shorten could not? We take away the not. And then what do we need to add instead? We add the N apostrophe T. And remember how the apostrophe has replaced the O from not. So could not becomes couldn't. So Erin couldn't believe her eyes. And this is when we put the because. Because. Now why couldn't she believe her eyes? When she looks around, what does she see? You can really deepen the moment here. Or we could just think of a word to sum up the whole experience. We could say that she couldn't believe her eyes because she was surrounded by a wonderland. We could say Erin couldn't believe her eyes because it was magical. I've put she could not believe her eyes because this was paradise. Can you think of some other words for paradise or magical or wonderland that you could